Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the Bone Zone. It's going to be myself and the Chaos Dwarves with Astrogoth facing off against the High Elves, who shall be helmed by Tsu Sung Shi. And it looks like he is going to be rocking Imric with a big rush build. So the entire front line for my opponent is going to be the White Lions of Crace. Pretty solid against Chaos Dwarves, honestly. They do have built-in missile resist of 30%, which is really good against blunderbusses, fireglaves, archers, whatever. And on top of that, decent defensive stats. They're going to be able to take on Chorf warriors very effectively and get through that front line. So that's going to be his main core. On the flank, we have a big Horn Overload. So basically using double Dragon Prince with the Narnia lines to just open up a flank and push through, using the Horn, the Vuvuzela of the Gods on Imric, which is going to be giving the entire army 24 melee attack. It's hard hitting. Very cool build for my opponent. And I can assure you, this was a knockdown drag-out game. You guys are in for quite a treat. Now, as far as my build goes, it is going to be a Hobgoblin front line. Much like in Tabletop, when I play Chaos Dwarves, I mainly use Hobgoblins. I have a big brick of 40 of them that usually take the beating for me. And we do have Goblin Laborers, a couple Skirmishers here. It's going to be the Archers. Just wanted to have some battlefield agency and some poke. Double Magma Cannon to clear out good quality infantry. Double Fireglaive, hands down my favorite unit on the Chaos Dwarf roster. These things are so heavy metal. When they get that volley fire off, oh, it's just beautiful. And, pretty good at melee, too. If they get attacked by Silver Helms or Dragon Princes, they can fight them off because they're not egregiously overpowered like Centaurs of Tzeentch. We got Chaos Dwarf Blunderbusses, another Fireglaive here, and that is basically it for some with some Hobgoblin Wolf Riders to spice things up. So my opponent going to be coming in hard. Immediately the Magma Cannon's going to be training onto the White Lines of Crace, missing both their initial volleys, so that's good fortune for me out of the gates. But he is going to be coming hard, and now our focus fire will begin. I'm a little bit obstructed, though, so I did kind of screw that one up, and the first wave of Hobgoblins is going to get horribly massacred. So these guys certainly didn't sign up for fighting giant lions straight out of Narnia, and they get ripped to absolute shreds. So I do notice that I'm obstructing my own guns, and we do pull back here, but the blunderbusses do get a good volley. Some Dragon Princes charging the front, try and penetrate into my secondary line, but the blunderbusses do set up shop, and they're getting some really good firepower here, and a lot of those Dragon Princes are going to be getting melted down. And my army is kind of designed to have that overlapping fields of fires. Over here, we do have a Fireglaive firing from there as well. But Hobgoblin front line is broken, and now the Infernal Fireglaves are caught up in melee, which is a little bit dodgy. I mean, they are good melee combatants, but, I'd rather they be shooting. They are going to be battling the Narnia lines, and they do have their halberds, though. That's what's really cool. Much like in Tabletop, they have halberd weapons in Tabletop as well. But in Tabletop, halberds don't bestow anti-large or anything, but they do make you stronger. But they're fighting off the lines pretty well. Astrogoth is Zula-hooing here. He's helping the boys out. And he does drop a fat erect flamestorm over there, which does take down those White Lines of Crace. In the meantime, our firepower still continues to kick off. Blunderbuss is melting down what they can, while the Fireglaves continue to provide support as well. And really fast action here in this game as my opponent flanks around the side with his other Dragon Prince unit. So he's going to be jumping on top of the blunderbusses, and I was like, fire everything, reload, fire! Dragon Princes getting mowed down as they charge in, but very epic stuff. They do break through the firepower, get a great charge there in tandem with some White Lion infantry. So now my blunderbuss is probably going to be paying the troll toll as they do get debuffed by the Lord of Dragons. So looking at the frontline fighting, we do see the Elves moving in with the White Lines of Crace and Archers. And on the sides, our Magma Cannons were able to get us some good engagements, but even still, it looks like we're doing very well out of the gates, but this is a lot closer than you may think. So here, Dragon Princes melting my blunderbusses, and we do have our Fireglaves being absolute beasts over here. These guys are fighting off Imric, and they do have the anti-large halberd attacks, but soon they're going to be dogpiled by the White Lines of Crace, which is a very bad fight for them. That's a down trade for sure. The Fireglaves are just over 1,000 gold, and the White Lines are quite a bit cheaper, and they would probably beat them in combat, so I don't want that fight head up. My opponent also dropping healing, so he's used a couple Earthbloods, Awakening of the Wood. Starwood Staff is active, so that's going to be giving him some goodies. And the bounce power is a little bit my favor, but as my artillery starts to get compromised, there is going to be a bit of a polarity shift in terms of the state of the battle. He does also send an infantry unit to go back here and get the objective. This is Conquest mode, so that's very important here. And now we have a huge, ugly blob fight. So we got Hobgoblin Cutthroats, as well as some Wolf Riders battling it out with Princes and Narnia Lions, but Astrogoth is here helping. He hits very hard, and I do drop another Flamestorm over here with Astrogoth to try and support the Fireglaves, because they were in a losing fight. I wanted to try and keep these guys alive, because they're still very effective, but 29 models, probably going to get beaten down. But my other Fireglaive unit is in very good shape, and they are going to be last samuraiing your boy. So Imric charges in, Lance is couched for, I don't know, who are the High Elf gods? You guys have to let me know in chat. But yeah, Imric takes an unholy beating there. And those Fireglaves are going to be turning about face to try and provide support, while Astrogoth with the Black Hammer of Hashut are going to be moving in, or he is going to be moving in, and hopefully bonking old Imric on the head. And it looks like he does make contact, because Imric is flammable right now. So that means he was bonked on the head by the hammer. Over here, we got some White Lions moving in. Can't have this happening, so I immediately redirect my attention here, and they're going to be shooting some shots as they approach. And honestly, they should win in combat. The Fireglaves are pretty sweet fighters. They do have decent stats, 31, 43, so kind of in a similar ballpark, but their model count is lower. But considering I was healthy and these white lines were beat up, I think that my Fireglaves are going to be able to win that fight. You can see some of them shooting in melee, which is super cool. One of my Magma Cannons does manage to get away. The other one unfortunately got caught up in the fray and is probably going to be dying here. But the other one does come back online, is able to provide some fire support. And I know my key to victory in this game is the Fireglaves. Keeping those guys somewhat functional in this match is going to be of the utmost importance. We do break Imric, so if I can get Imric off the battlefield, that probably seals the deal. In response to that, I do get some of my Haggard archers over here, and we're going to be starting to chase down Imric and try and escort him off the battlefield. My opponent knows that as well. Both Magma Cannons have stabilized, and it might look like I said, I'm in a very good position, but if the Magma Cannons die, the bounce power is like immediately even, right? And if Imric's able to stabilize, that is going to suck pretty bad. So he does trap me with some War Lines of Krace, which are actually reasonably good against Astrogoth because they have anti-infantry, and Astrogoth, believe it or not, is infantry size despite being a robo-mech man. So the War Line should get a little bit of damage into him. We do drop another Flamestorm on top of the advancing White Lines here, and it does do some okay damage, but my artillery is going to be compromised, and you're going to see that bounce power start cruising back towards the middle here in just a second. Magma Cannon getting chased down here. Mage of Life hot on its tail. The other Magma Cannon is going to be fleeing the scene while we continue to try and hunt down Imric, but it looks like he might slip away. A couple Dragon Princes do come back in, and my little Haggard Wolves going to be trying to swarm them, but not a great fight for them. Granted, the leadership here of the Dragon Princes is very precarious, and it looks like they are going to be breaking and running, so the most cowardly Dragon Princes of all time. And we get back onto our chase here. So we're going to start hunting down Imric, trying to get him off the battlefield, and if we do, I don't think my opponent's going to have anything that can really deal with Astrogoth, but if he stabilizes, my opponent still does have a life caster, probably going to be able to get some healing. That will feel very, very bad. So the Fireglaves are back online. We do have 53 of those. They're going to be shooting into the advancing White Lines of Krace, but this is where the 30% missile resist is a huge deal, right? If these did not have that missile resist, they would get melted pretty quickly. But the Fireglaves, you know, ripping some good shots into them, they will probably make it in. The White Lines will close the distance, and anticipating that, I'm going to be bringing Astrogoth over there to try and help out. Bounce power creeping back towards the middle. My opponent does do a great job of rallying Imric here. So Imric is back in business and is going to be hustling back towards the middle of the battlefield while the Goblin Labor is trying to ninja this objective. I figured, hey, if the game goes long enough, that could make a difference. So this is getting a little bit scary. He's got his Mage of Life. He's got several cavalry units. All I really have here is going to be Astrogoth Iron Chad as well as these Fireglaves who have 51 models. Every model I lose on these Fireglaves is one that is sorely felt. So they're fighting back these units. But now that the old Prophet is here, he's coming in with his bonking hammer. He does bonk those guys down. They're going to be breaking and running. We're going to be forming ranks, and all the elves trying to get in there. You can see the tattered Dragon Princes moving in. Astrogoth going to be taking a couple off his horse there. Oh, that was nice. And the Fireglaive should be able to clear out the rest of these. Heroes in this game are pretty big. You look at Astrogoth, you're like, man, he really towers over those Dragon Princes. Granted, elves are kind of small anyways. But the mage moves in, and now Imric is back in business. A couple of his Illyrian Reavers are making sure to chase down the remnants of my infantry, even though they are shattered, so they'll probably be coming after me here in a minute anyways. Astro Chad moving in while the guns have refocused their fire here on Imric, and Imric is going to be trying to juke that firepower while the Spearmen attempt to close the distance. And in order to make sure I don't get tar pitted, this game's really close. Bounce fire actually just went away from me there. I do drop a Flamestorm right here, try and cook these Spearmen. And I still, though, even feel that probably Astrogoth could solo a lot of this, but Imric is a really, really good fighter. But we do bonk him in the head pretty hard. Black Hammer of Hashut going down. We need to bring him down. Breathe in fire, man. Chaos Dwarves got all the tricks. And the Fireglaves here, very, very happy to get that big vortex protecting them. And now they're in another great fight here. They should be able to beat the Reavers. Astrogoth does take down Imric, and that probably is going to be the beginning of the end. He's pretty healthy, has a good amount of HP, 2400 value as well. And the Mage of Life is going to be next. And the Chad Fireglaves, my favorite unit on the Chor Frost, are doing heavy metal work this game. Gotta love it. Fighting off cavalry units, infantry units, able to snipe the lords. Great stuff. So GG well played to my opponent. Very solid player. It's fun. I love being able to go on to quick battle games and run into, you know, players who are really, really able to compete and play super well and often beat you too. So that's great stuff. 2600 here. Hobgoblins didn't do bad. Blunderbuss is 1300. One Fireglaive did get shut down. Obviously, they were a little bit closer. My mistake. I should have had them more deep set. Magma Cannons did good. 1400 and about 500 on the other one. So if you combine their values, they paid for themselves more or less. And for my opponent's build, it's pretty wild. Yeah, the Dragon Princes were scary. The Rush was scary. But yeah, I think the damage we got on the Dragon Princes in the beginning was enough to give us the slight edge we needed to go into the late game. Anyways, GG well played. We'll see you guys around. We got some more sweet replays coming up. And you guys take care of yourselves.